morning and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Record Sport Towers. You know what Friday means? It means game on. My name is Gavin Berry, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by my colleague Graeme Young. How are you, Graeme?
Very well, Gav. Very well.
Okay, so you know the format by now. We just race through all the kind of hot topics across the sporting world. We've got 2 minutes to beat the clock. We'll debate them as best we can during that time before the whistle blows, Graeme.
Yep.
So are you all set?
I'm ready to go.
You done your homework?
Mildly.
Yeah. Well, it was a mix. I mean, normally after these European nights, it's been a lot of doom and gloom, but sort of mixed fortunes. On Thursday night, a couple of draws and a brilliant victory for Celtic away in Rotterdam. Martin O'Neill, his final European game. So I think that's probably the best place to start, Graeme. Martin O'Neill, I mean, it obviously gives Celtic fans so many great memories in Europe. That run to Seville in his first spell, that'll be his final game. So probably fitting that he signs off like that. Wilfried Nancy expected to be announced early next week. He could be in position for the Dundee game in the Premiership on Wednesday. It's funny, but a lot of Celtic fans probably didn't want Martin O'Neill to be a long-term solution, even till the end of the season after the defeat in Michelin. That opinion was maybe changing a bit last night after that win. I just wonder how you think that result could have an impact. Do you think it'll put a bit more pressure on Nancy coming in because it's a hard act to follow?
Yeah, I think there's a case of that. It felt like Celtic were on their knees when Brendan Rodgers exited just in every facet of the club. The withering statement for Dermot Desmond, the form leading into Rodgers leaving, and Martin O'Neill. It's been a textbook example of good leadership. It's just been perfect for what Celtic looked like on the pitch and off it. Like he's been almost pitch perfect in every word he's addressed the media, and now it puts it on Wilfried Nancy. But I think you need to take the it's easier. The dressing room's definitely done uptick for Callum McGregor's last minute winner to that performance last night. I think Wilfried Nancy would take that if he's backing his own abilities.
Yeah,
I think it gives him a decent platform. The fixtures after the Hibs game are say favourable, but 3 home games. You've got the Dundee, Hearts, Roma. I think that's a good chance to put a marker down what he wants to do. So I think it's added pressure in a way that expectations have now lifted.
Yeah.
But I think what we know about Wilfried Nancy as a character, I think he seems in position to be able to master that.
Yeah. But you know how football fans, you know how it works. It's very fickle. If the new man comes in and, the first bad result he has, or, if they lose in Europe the next time, or they're in charge for the cup final and they didn't win the cup, before you know it, it's going to be, we should have stuck with Martin O'Neill. And that's the kind of that's the kind of pressure he's going to be under. Because there's people saying it now. I mean, so after the result in Rotterdam, some are saying, "Well, why will let Martin O'Neill go? We'd be better just sticking with him at the end of the season."
But the one thing they can't do is that halfway house of, Martin O'Neill can stick around and a kind of ambassador role, which is silly because Martin O'Neill is what he is. He's a manager. That's what it is, and he manages people perfectly, and it's worked a treat. But I think it's in defence to O'Neill as well. He's ready to go. That interview last night was the perfect send off as well. And I know he's still got Easter Road to come, but it feels the right fit. And I think Nancy's background and who he is, he'll be quite pleased with that.
And let's not kid ourselves. As good as the result was in Rotterdam, if Martin O'Neill was to draw it, if he was to stay and draw it home at Dundee, because exactly. No, we said he should have gone. So there's just no pleasing. But look, it looks like Wilfried Nancy will be in start of the week. New Celtic manager. What player do you think, Graeme, could benefit most? Because you always see there's always somebody in the squad, that gets a real lift from a new manager coming in. Who do you think will fit his style? Who could really benefit from him?
Well, the worrying thing for Celtic and the people who bought this player is Balakrisha would be the one that you would think, new manager and fresh start. But I don't see it personally. I just think sometimes a signing's an ill fit. But the one player that stands out to me, and I know he contributed with the third goal against Feyenoord, but it's Benjamin Negrin, who is almost he's action packed. You really don't know what you get with Benjamin Negrin, but he's an effective player. I think Nancy's system relies on runners off the ball, timing, overlaps. I just feel that Negrin will be able to fill his boots. He's already getting, when he starts, he's 5, 6, 7 shots a game.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know where they're going. But I just feel he's a type of player. He's, for that price, and I know it was a marked down price, he's a Sweden international because of his contract. But in the world of stats and analytics, I think Negrin's a very smart signing because Celtic need off-the-cuff players, because if you're playing in against low blocks in Scotland, Benjamin Negrin's, he's a perfect solution at times. And I just feel the way Celtic will play will be more harmonious. I think there'll be more time for him to make his runs. And I think he'll go for this figure that he is now, that you don't, he's half good, he's half not. I think he suddenly becomes, he's a real player. I think he's got a real chance to go up a level once he comes in.
It's funny when you think back to Martin O'Neill's first spell in charge at Celtic, and you come in and quite often you get a player who's, I think, probably Bobby Petty, I remember first time around, someone you thought that, people had written him off. Then they get, he totally revived, Martin O'Neill revived his career. You think, when you look at Yang the other night, you think, much maligned during his time here, possibly someone like that. But also, I think the best thing is when youngsters get a chance. So you look at the performance of Colby Donovan.
Well, he's
hopefully
Colby Donovan's the one that there's a position made for him, because he's playing as a right back, but he's a pure right wing back, and that's the way Nancy
marauding
plays.
yells like that one, marauding fullback.
That's it. That's perfect description.
So you reckon in this Nancy system he could be?
Yeah, I think Donovan's got every chance, but I would honestly, like with Negrin already, his goal contribution's pretty impressive, but honestly, he will have a hat-trick game or a 4-goal game in the right system, because he gets that many chances. Can rewind the tape when it happens. Okay,
we'll definitely do that.
Well,
across the city wasn't not as much to shout about for Rangers, although they did get their first point on the board. 1-1 draw with Braga. Braga, who decent side, handy against Celtic, winning the Celtic Park. Decent side, didn't look as good. Certainly at Ibrox. Rangers 1 up. Then Braga reduced to 10 men. You're thinking, right, this is a chance for Rangers to get their first victory. But of course, a comical goal that they conceded. Danny Rohl, after the game, said it was a huge step forward in terms of progress. Do you agree with that?
100% no, but I understand why he said it. Right. So he's in this position where Thelwell and Stewart are gone. The agreement is that the signings in the summer were woeful, and that's probably putting it mildly. He's still got a massive run, and we spoke about this before, that the fixtures for Rangers they've still got all the big venues to go to. They've still Celtic Park, Tynecastle, they've got a lot to come. Yeah. There is no time now to throw anyone under the bus. Really, you have to put a face on it. But I think this is a difficult bit. I always remember that there was a perception when he was hired that all we ask you, Danny, is you tell us the truth and honest. And I don't think he's necessarily lying. It's just Rangers fans have had their fill of things are okay when in reality it's not. And last night as well, I think an interesting one where the mood was so strange that there was no one to really pin the blame on. Bar Jigger. And it's this element that Stewart and Thelwell are gone. Danny Rowe still got in the bank.
You make a good point. Exactly. Yeah. And plus, the other thing with managers, we've seen it so many times, haven't we? I mean, they'll be saying one thing possibly in front of the camera and then going to the dressing room and then saying another. But I think what we have to say, and Graeme, you touched on it there, is that, I mean, Rangers fans, it doesn't matter what he says, Rangers fans aren't going to be fooled. And that is the concern if he goes over the top with praise. I did see the reaction, it was like he was maybe laying it on a bit too thick in terms of, I see progress. Look, it is progress in terms of the fact, if you look at some of the shambolic displays.
I thought that was going to be a different word.
If you look at some of the shambolic displays in Europe this season, then I suppose in that term, but it was like a kind of huge step forward and those kind of things.
But incremental gains for Rangers doesn't wash, because these Rangers fans have been on runs to Europa League finals and quarterfinals. Suddenly been unable to compete in the Europa League is the most galling element of it all. Because this is a level that Rangers have succeeded at under multiple managers. So faint praise isn't going to cut it.
I mean, look, he needs to be cut a bit of slack, because you do look at that squad. I mean, that takes us back to the start of the week and why Kevin Thelwell was sacked along with Patrick Stewart, because there's no doubt that squad is an abomination for the money that they spent. But there will come a point where it has to get more out of it. And if you're leading 1-0 against 10 men, you should still be able to see that out. Although, again, it comes back to the mistake from Giga. you can't legislate for that. Right, let's move on to international football, Graeme, because this time next week, this excitement will be into overdrive. It's the World Cup draw in Washington. Will you be watching it? A Budweiser in hand.
A wee light, those light beers, that'll keep me, don't get too excited.
Budweiser, do we get paid?
I know, well, we need that. So you could do a wee sponsor, that'd be nice.
Any other American?
Exactly. Any American beer will do.
You'll the Budweiser and the hot dogs out, watching the draw.
Yep.
We've waited so long. The pots are out, confirmed earlier this week, Scotland in pot 3, which we kind of expected. So give me your ultimate dream and dreaded nightmare draw.
Right, I think the dream pot 1 team, I don't think there can be anyone else. It's Canada for me, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And they are an improving football nation. There's plenty of those around the world now, but let's be honest, they stand out as opponent that the dream of the pot 1 team is you can get a result against them, and Scotland on their day could certainly do that. Australia's another who, let's be honest, we know a lot about them. There's a lot of crossover with players. I think Scotland at their best can get a result against a good Australian team. And Cape Verde, I think, would be the one out of the pot 4 that just appeals. Like they've all, listen, let's be honest, Scotland have, to Zaire, all these setbacks. Morocco in '98, probably everyone expected a win. Scotland's history is littered with disappointments against teams they should beat. But to me, that feels the best options for the nightmare side of it. I think there's a team that stands out again, and it's Mexico, because imagine going to just that as well, because they almost draw you in. That's a good draw.
The opening game.
Imagine you're in the mix.
Altitude, heat,
exactly.
It's all there. In fact, we played a post-season friendly there. We got annihilated.
And that's the thing as well. Mexico, it's not quite Ecuador, Bolivia and La Paz. But there's so many factors in their favour. You imagine the outpouring in that country, hosting a World Cup. It'll be, I don't think anyone wants that one. It's difficult. Morocco, pot 2, absolute nightmare team.
So Mexico, Morocco,
and
Italy, nightmare.
And Italy as well. But Morocco's just a team.
Of course.
And if Italy make it, that would be, that's just a nice wee pot 4 against the.
Of course, I'm forgetting you're factoring in the playoffs here. When I'm looking at the pots, I've just picked from the teams that are guaranteed. But I was forgetting about Italy. So for my nightmare, I was actually going to take Ghana from pot 4, Scotland pot 3. Pot 2, I was thinking Ecuador. I mean, they finished second. They just finished second behind the holders, Argentina. Because I was going to pick Argentina's pot 1, and then I realised we wouldn't be able to get Ecuador because they can't. 2 teams from the same continent, apart from Europe, can't be drawn together. So Ecuador pot 2, and then you could take France from pot 1. So
who's your dream?
France, Ecuador. Well, Canada, as you say. I was going to say Iran, revenge for 78, 1-1 draw, infamous draw, but I see that they're threatening to boycott over visas. A visa issue. So if not Iran, I'll go for Australia, as you say, and pot 4, Haiti. How about that?
Well, that sounds not bad. Let's hope for it.
I've got us in the knockout stages already. And obviously, attention will soon turn to the closer the tournament gets, who Steve Clarke takes. Callum McGregor, Celtic captain, coming up that last minute winner against St Mirren last week, retired from international football, but I see a bit of talk after he scored that goal saying get him back in. What do you think?
Not pretty strong knowing this one. No. I feel it different for Harvey Barnes.
Yeah.
Because Barnes brings a freshness and fills our biggest need that I've talked about a lot. Ben Doak, for all his talent, should not be asked to be a sole winger, and all the balls coming in. Barnes just gives us so many options if both of them are fit and starting. It's different with Callum McGregor. He made a choice to retire.
But so did Scott Brown many years ago and came back in.
I understand. Do you know as well? Do you know the truth? If you've spoke to Callum McGregor, if you know the man, you know he'll not want to. In the sense, he would love to, but maybe he would.
Well, I'm saying, I mean, really, he would probably have to make the first move. But I think you can probably split this question into two. First of all, there's the moral side of it. Is it right that Callum McGregor should be able to retire and just walk back in, right? You can debate that. Personally, I don't think so. Once, as you say, once you've made your mind up, that's it. But if we take that out of the equation, let's just say he was willing to play.
I like the balance.
Is he getting in that team for a start?
No, not the now. I like the way the midfield. That's the one point.
So McTominay, McGinn, and Gilmore, he's not getting in it. But what? Okay, so what about then as a squad member? if you're going to have a guy like that, the Celtic captain, I mean, imagine bringing someone like that off the bench to just sort of calm the game down.
I get that as well, and you've got one of the best leaders, and that all these phrases like winning mentality and all this. When you see it, he's an embodiment of that. He is a winner. That's what he is. Every year, incessant, always want to do it again. I'm sure he'd be great in the camp, but again, you just feel that it's one of these unfortunate things for as great a career he's had, and he was brilliant for Scotland. He made all his caps in like a crazy run. Just that he didn't get capped till 2017, so it was in 50+ caps. But it just feels that time's gone. I think that's just the brutality of football, where you make a big call and you have to deal with the fallout that comes with it.
In Euro 2024, I mean, it's probably unfair because Scotland was so bad, but I mean, it wasn't brilliant.
No, and I think Scotland had fell into the trap where they were it was almost like a Celtic style way of playing and everything's going through them. Maybe that's not, I think we saw in the second half against Greece, that kind of vertical styles more suited to this team. We're better when the shackles are off, and I don't know if that team would have Callum McGregor in it.
Yeah, I think last season Callum McGregor, Scottish Cup final, described that as one of his lowest points. Missed a penalty, of course. Aberdeen winning the trophy at Hampden that day, dramatic day. And it's a big date in the Scottish Cup, the Scottish football calendar this weekend, Graeme. It's the third round. A lot of teams trying to get in there with the big boys. Fourth round draw on Sunday night. So if you look across all the ties, I mean, there's a potential for some upsets. A lot of minnows got a big chance. When you look at all the ties, Graeme, where do you see the kind of fairy tale there, or a bit of a kind of upset?
I fancy Clydebank. They're away to Stranraer. I like the organic way the Bankies have been on the rise. It's very steady, and they seem now in the position to cause a bit of bother for a team like Stranraer. I just fancy victory. And there's something about Clydebank that imagining them in the draw, and it just evokes a certain memory. A football fan of a certain vintage. And I think the only pressure maybe is the only pressure for Clydebank is maybe quite a lot of people go, I quite fancy them, and that element of when we're in here, I think the true shock element maybe not there. Exactly, but they are underdogs.
You've got Sir Alex Ferguson, he'll have one eye on Benburb. In fact, I might not. They're at home to Montrose. What a day for them. But I'm going to actually look further north, albeit they're away from home. Clacknacuddon away to Stenhousemuir. They get a bit of experience in their squad. The keeper, Mark Ridgers, just to name one. He's been at Hampden a few times actually with Inverness. They're going well. Source Denny as well, to be fair, but I think Clacknacuddon could be the one. But no, there's a few.
It's a cracking weekend, and if you like going to football, Scott, some of these grounds are brilliant. Like it'd be good. It's just that's the type of thing that young fans, if they experience some of these games,
I'm just looking at some of the ties here. Banks of Dee home to Ross County, Benburb Montrose, as I said. Bonnyrigg Rose home to Spartans.
Some crackers on there.
Trinent home to Inverness. That's another big one. There's Stranraer, Clydebank, as you said, Steny, Clacknacuddon, Cove away at St Johnstone.
Yeah, some good games there. Good weekend for it.
Oh, and then of course, I mean, the dream is just to for any of these teams, it's just getting that. I mean, the excitement of just being in the draw, watching it, on Sunday night. I mean, for these players, and the prospect of going to, Celtic Park or Ibrox, whatever it is. Right, what we got next? Let's move south of the border. 4-1 thumping for Liverpool. What has gone wrong at Liverpool? Army Slot under real pressure. It's their worst start since 19-canteen, isn't it?
Yes,
do you think Liverpool could turn to Steven Gerrard? He's always been touted as this.
But this is it. This probably makes sense more than ever because, Gerrard is a bona fide marquee rival's probably gone just with the way things have panned out the last few years. But clubs, there's some people might call it lazy, turn to a legend in time of need, but it's worth a treat for Celtic. Obviously, Neil's got a different status in the managerial side of it with Celtic, but Gerrard, I think, could be a decent figurehead, but Liverpool have got serious problems, and it's cumulative. It's everything's wrong. They look weak. And Jamie Carragher, I've got to be honest, I remember after the first game of the season, they beat Bournemouth. He was genuinely concerned. He didn't like what he'd watched in pre-season. And they're just reduced to Van Dijk and Canati start. Their defence is so... The lack of options. Obviously, young Italian boy who was brilliant in the League Cup, but ACL injury out for the season. But everything's wrong. Isak as well. It's easy
Big
to say
money.
now, but that brilliant player, a bit of a maverick, but I think Newcastle was the perfect club for him, the kind of figure that kind of attack. But Ekitike to me looks brilliant. It looks like he can go another level, but he's almost stymied by the fact they spent so much on Isak. Wirtz obviously has got ability, but it's just not there. Kerkez doesn't work. Frimpong's been injured. So Michael Edwards and that Richard Hughes are lauded as transfer gurus. It's like the Midas touch is gone in a summer. Slot doesn't have the same currency in the bank as Jurgen Klopp, that cult of personality. So as much as there was success last year, when it goes wrong, you just don't have the same credit. It's just a mess. But Gerrard, to me, for a quick fix,
well, that's the thing.
It's not outlandish. That's the way clubs now move.
It's the circumstances, a bit like Chelsea with Frank Lampard.
Yeah, exactly.
These are the circumstances where he'll probably, because when they were looking for a manager to replace Jurgen Klopp, and they're looking around, they wouldn't. Steven Gerrard wouldn't be the obvious one, but if it gets worse for Liverpool and they sack Arne Slot, then it's an easy time then to give Steven Gerrard the job. You could argue whether he's actually earned it, but just because of his status at Liverpool, a lot of people see him as having earned a shot at it. Just one shot.
I think he'd be that's the time. Not like obviously he's got ways to, like you say, how he earns the job. But I think Steven Gerrard has actually got a pretty decent CV in the sense what he's been out there, youth coaching Rangers, Aston Villa, away to Saudi. It's not as if he's short in experience. And that kind of emergency role.
Yeah. No, I think, I don't think it would be the most ridiculous. Do you think there was any part of him when he was having those talks with Rangers thinking this?
No, can't say that. Come on. No, maybe they were doing well then. They were still all right.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, I mean, Liverpool, as you say, spent back, I think it was about £500 million they spent in the summer, is that right? And they're worse, a lot worse. Scottish football, obviously Scottish clubs don't have that kind of money to spend, but when January's just around the corner, the transfer window open, Celtic, Rangers and Hearts, the three of them, 1, 2 and 3 in the table. What do you think in terms of signings? Who do you predict a signing that one of them? Well, in fact, I'll start. What about? I know it's one that's been spoken about. In fact, it involves Liverpool. Andy Robertson going to Celtic is always talked about. What do you think of the chances of that?
I don't think they're a fit. I like the Atletico Madrid move for Andy Robertson if it comes off. It's not. You just put yourself back in the Tierney and Robertson hole. Sometimes I know it's his dream his whole life to play for Celtic, but tough luck. It doesn't. In the sense that, does he not instantly run into the same problems he has at Scotland, where it's a Liverpool superstar, but in reality it's a pressure that he has to be brilliant every game. I think style of football, he would be pretty similar, has to bomb up and down, but in Tierney you're trying to make it as a back three.
There's still questions over Tierney's fitness.
No, I get that.
They've still not been completely answered.
It's just never felt right. Maybe if Tierney never came back, I think that would change the question.
Okay.
It's not one that personally, but you would probably argue otherwise, wouldn't you?
I think it would be. I think it would be and I think that'd be a good sign. I think Andy Robertson would be a great sign. Yeah. So anybody else that you fancy?
I don't want you to disagree with me, but it's Diego Rossi. Well, this is our thing as well. Manager signs key man. It's tale as old as time, and oftentimes it's unfounded. But Diego, this makes too much sense.
Yeah.
Oh, like it's the funniest quote for Wilfried Nancy about Diego Rossi is just about his work. He's the hardest working player in the team, which is just so timely considering Dies Maid for the off.
Oh yeah, of course.
So you just feel this, but he is quality, and he's had to go in Europe with Fenerbahce, Uruguayan, proper player, clever runs, decent. That way? Just I'm not saying physical, but those little touches off, spinning round the back, maybe like an element of Kyogo. He's more probably style akin to Kyogo, but with a good work ethic as well. Just a proper player, 27, fits the mould, I think, of...
And had two spells in Europe, didn't he?
Fenerbahce.
Didn't
No, I think it was a big move because he was so good the first time in
Yeah.
MLS. But I feel the age, the profile, it
Right.
just fits. And you just want, sometimes you just legitimise a manager by bringing in one of his best players. I think he's proper quality, and it would just make sense to me that sometimes you just take the easy win and get the proper that striker in. I think it fills a void.
Well, that's good, because Celtic fans will be, desperate to know what kind of, the standard of signing that,
Yeah, I don't think you
they'll
go
be making.
MLS crazy. Like, I
No.
don't think, and I think the selling point in MLS is the people that arrive into that league come from here, there, and everywhere. They're like, it's not an obvious way to bring players in the MLS. So it's the same with Celtic. I think their scout network's pretty vast. They've been all over the world, really.
Mhm.
Probably South America is the one area that fans would maybe like them to look at more. But for me, Rossi would be the player who could do a lot of
And
damage.
Sriracha, I mean, he's done okay.
Well,
In
that's
terms,
exactly
he's
what I
showed me
know.
flashes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still think there's an untapped element there where, like, getting to markets like Ecuador, and I know it's so hard with like Chelsea and so forth, and
Mhm.
these teams are finding players before anyone sees them. But I think there's definitely an option there.
And there's still nightmares over Raphael. Right.
Oh, of course. Oh, can we bleed that out, please? No, there is. That's Mark O'Neill of all his razor sharp deductions worked out very quickly that Mister Shite was not up to it.
Right, so we'll move on next. What we got next? Well, you're a boxing expert, Graeme. So,
Oh, no pressure.
you're a boxing expert. Well, so first of all, before we get in, tell us what you think. We're going to talk about Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua, Miami in December. Yeah,
Yep.
Was announced. I mean, generally, before we get to that specific fight, I mean, it's a YouTuber,
Yep.
Against an actual boxer. What do you think of these gimmicks?
So there's been
Speaking
elements that
generally.
it's not for me. You don't want to sound like a fuddy-duddy too much, that you understand the world evolves, and there's actually been, see the fights that have had a bit of merit, it's been YouTuber versus YouTuber, and
Mhm.
the level's a level, but this is a feeling akin to, like, do you know when you've left the cooker on in the house, just something horrible, like there's horrible, like, something bad's
Great
coming,
analogy.
right? Where Anthony Joshua's, listen, Anthony Joshua's ridiculously powerful. He flatlined the MMA heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, who's as tough as old boots, and they've given Tyson Fury a really challenging night. And that says more about Fury probably than Ngannou. But this is grim. This is the stuff that you just do not want.
Well, I was going to just read you a quote. Sorry to interrupt you,
Of course,
from Dana White saying, "Oh Jesus, that's a effing bad idea." But a lot of people will watch that one. You know what everyone is tying in for that one. I think everybody's going to get what they've finally been waiting for. I mean,
Yeah, I think
I think he might have backtracked actually on that later. But I mean, what is he meaning by
I
that?
think he's hit the most. Everyone knows when they watch boxing, it's entertainment, but there's a very serious life and death element that
Yeah,
comes with boxing. And Jake Paul, I don't know what this is, if it's a front or try to act tougher. It's crazy because he's actually, for what he is, he's made a decent. He's a big slugger that fights fighters below standard. Tommy Fury fits that category.
yeah.
Even though he lost that fight, that's the level. You shouldn't be going any higher than that. Tommy Fury's is high, and Anthony Joshua, and he's at his best, is one of the most devastating finishers in recent boxing memory. If he hurts him, it's scary what could happen. And I don't know. There's a difference between Mike Tyson. That was horrible as well. I didn't like that. There's no point kidding on. It's not for me. But this just feels like a watershed moment if it goes wrong in boxing. It's pretty scary.
Scary. Okay, so to wrap up, in the last couple of weeks, you and Michael Gannon were doing it last week, yeah?
Yeah.
Sort of our bets of the week, which we try and double up, and we try and make them kind of, fairly decent odds. We don't want to pick even money, so 2-1 or that. We want to pick something, so we'll get one each. I think we've both got a 6-1 shot, is that right? So you've what? You
Is
get
that 48 to 1
you
double?
get as if you didn't have the calculator.
Yeah.
He's,
Mental
um,
mathematics.
So it's the second. I'm going to go. It's the second last Grand Prix of the Formula One season. It's at Qatar this weekend, so I'm going to go for a 6-1 shot. Oscar Piastri. He's the outside of the three going for the title. Him and Lando Norris and Verstappen all in with a shout. He's outside of the three of them, so I'm going to go for him at 61. I think you've also got a 61 shot, is that
This
right?
is a cracking bet, honestly. There's
Right.
obviously, it's like and if it doesn't come in, it's one of my good losing bets.
Well, maybe go for it as a single then. Maybe go for it as a single if it's that good.
Well, sometimes a price just jumps out. In Burnley, 61 away to Brentford. Brentford's home form's been brilliant.
Right.
Keith Andrews, I like him, and I felt that he was almost doomed. He was sold as someone that wasn't fit to replace Thomas Frank, but he's been able to prove that he's pretty agile in the way Brentford have been actually in a decent watch. But Burnley have been good. Burnley haven't been. They've been much more competitive than they have been recently when they've been up.
Okay.
And that's even under Vincent Kompany. Obviously, that was a very extreme style of football. But Scott Parker's a pretty wily manager, and they're in most games. 61 seems a crazy price.
Yeah.
And then we're obviously Hughes, Brentford 2, Burnley 0. But
yeah. Well,
I just think that's a discrepancy that stands out, and I think it's worth covering.
Well, I'm just looking at Burnley. I see 61 year Brentford 9-20. So I'll just check Burnley's form. So it's last time out, Burnley 0, Chelsea 2, West Ham 3, Burnley 2, Burnley 0, Arsenal 2.
Well, there they are. They're due
No,
a point, but
to be fair, that's they're playing Arsenal there. They're playing Chelsea there. Beat Wolves 3-2 away from home. So, okay, so that's 261 shots. I don't think that's too bad. Just on mine as well. Piastri was saying earlier this week, in fact, I don't know, did you read it? No, Verstappen was basically saying, because McLaren were talking about how he could be sacrificed his own title chances to help Norris with his title bid. Said McLaren had held a brief meeting about it. Verstappen quite rightly saying, well, actually, his quote here was, he can just label himself a number 2 driver if he gave up his own title bid just to help Norris. But he said they wasn't willing to entertain the idea anyway. So 61 outsider of the 3. I'll go for that.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for you, but I think he might be the number 2. They're talking about using plastic wheels for him just to not give him a chance, but maybe not what you're doing. A good shout anyway, Gav.
Brilliant. Okay, well, let's see how that goes. It was payday this weekend anyway, wasn't it? In here this week, so exactly. You've got a few. Or does you like me? Does it just all end up disappearing on day one?
I think it does. But listen, we've signed 2 players in January. We've chosen the World Cup group, and we've set Scottish football on fire. So
exactly, you can't beat that. Well, Graeme, thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks to everyone for listening. I think Michael Gannon will be back next week, isn't he? He's winging his way back from Rotterdam. He was over there with Craig Swan. So, and you're on with him next week, are you? Yeah, that's the day of the World Cup draw, so that's good. When all will be revealed. So join us next Friday. And thanks for watching. And don't remember, you can catch us on all the usual socials on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you all for listening. Have a good weekend.